fall apart. So we'll have to see whether or not they can replicate that victory against AHQ as their second match again when it comes to the round robin.
And on we go here to our draft for HQ. They're going to be on that blue side. Liyab going to be on the red. And these were kind of the targeted bans I was expecting to come out toward Liyab, getting rid of the Twisted Fate, getting rid of your Bard. Those are both signature playmaking champions that the Korean imports have been able to make plays on consistently.
Yeah, totally understandable bans coming from AHQ. And looks like they're going to pick up Dawn's comfort pick in the bottom side of the map, which is Ashe.
And here we go. Ashe is going to be prioed and locked in for Wako as the Aphelios was banned out here on the side of Liyab. Question for us now, are we going to see a power farming style jungle come out from Doidoi? The answer is going to be yes, with that Graves getting locked in.
And it makes me wonder now, because Liyab, every single time a team has been up against Liyab, they would usually ban out the Karma, but now there are more threats on the board, and therefore Karma is open. Rex will be most likely probably relegated again to that utility position, but then again Karma can still be flexed in 3 different roles. Again, we mentioned Kanji previously played in the mid lane, but now HQ seems to be locking in this Volibear.
Yeah, I'm going to say too, we'll get back to it here for that Karma pick if it does go mid, but like you mentioned, Volibear getting locked in, likely going to see that go to Civs. Konya hasn't played it a whole lot in the jungle. We did see it yesterday, but there for Uniboy, going to bring out one of the carries, the signature go-to, Syndra.
This is very interesting because when we look back at the AHQ Liyab matchup, Uniboy was on that Galio, and now HQ, or rather Uniboy, is now back in the traditional mage position, is able to create more impact as the game progresses. And for Liyab, hovering over towards this Ezreal, perhaps we're going to be seeing the classic Ashe and Ezreal bottom matchup.
And this kind of, for a lot of us, has been concerning for Liyab because we are already seeing a rather poke-heavy composition that relies on very good coordinated team play instead of opting into those easier win conditions. Obviously, if you want to be contender within the league, you got to be able to play both style of team comps, but this so far for Liyab has not worked out.
Yeah, we've seen how aggressive they can fall back to their usual play style as if they're not playing a poke composition, but hopefully, since we've been seeing a lot of improvements so far, since this is definitely one of the compositions that they've been practicing a lot, I feel like it's going to be a different scenario for themselves as Urgot being banned against Kanji on the top side of the map.
Well, almost the storm of fate overhead as you got some thunder there in the background. Hopefully we don't lose Riku later on during the show. Hopefully the storm keeps calm. And hopefully Liyab can weather this storm, because you are going up against AHQ, which you have now put Rex onto something that isn't a high carry. It's mainly looking to be more of a support, especially with the fact now that you're not going Mocha on the Karma, now locking in that Leona.
Yeah, you are definitely revealing what the composition is going to be, as Kanji would most likely fall back more on the bruisers. They are definitely lacking a little bit more extra on the engage side. If not, then they will heavily rely on Leona, just because, again, not a lot of support options open anymore. We did mention Ysera does love those heavy engage supports, but none are open at the moment, and Tahm Kench will be used instead.
Tahm Kench, though, he's been, to be arguably, a lot of people have been kind of looking down on the pick as of late. We feel like it kind of, other than just save your AD carry, it doesn't do a whole lot. It's not necessarily a high kill threat style lane, especially when you're going up against an Ezreal that's going to be poking from afar. Meanwhile, though, for Ziv, it is going to be a safe blind pick up into that top lane, going to be the Renekton, and now up to Kanji, what he wishes to bring up into the matchup, going up against possibly the most veteran player in the league, him on his just rookie split.
Exactly, and I'm not going to be surprised if they do lock this in. Kanji has picked this up twice. This will be his third Camille pick if he does lock it in, and that's what Liyab is going for. A very aggressive, but at the same time, a lot of damage output on the side of Liyab.
A lot of damage output, and now we can kind of go back to this Karma pick in particular for Rex, where usually we don't like to see Rex too often on the Karma, especially if he's only, boosting up Dawn. But if you are going to run Doidoi on something that can have a lot of damage into the late game, this could work out. So it's a little bit interesting from Liyab. They decided to go for this, but again, once you hit those 2-3 item spikes on a lot of your members on the side of Liyab, they're going to be rather dangerous threats up against AHQ.
Yeah, and that means, Dragon contests, Baron dances would be absolutely scary for AHQ if ever, Liyab doesn't fall too behind when it comes to the first 15 minutes of the game.
So whether or not they can at least wait out, try and weather this out, it seems, as if you're able to survive through that early game, there is the possibility here for Liyab to take an opening and be able to try and take home a victory. Again, they were able to upset AHQ only a couple weeks ago. So there is still hope for this team. They are considered almost the King Slayers when it comes to the PCS, able to only take down some of our top squads. They were almost in line to do it yesterday. We'll have to see whether or not they're able to replicate the success that we saw in that Taipei J team matchup. Again, AHQ cannot drop any games here if they want to have a solid chance of taking a playoff bye into playoffs. Meanwhile, Liyab still fighting for a slot, an opportunity to make it into the postseason as we load on to the Rift for our first game of the day.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And on we go. Our first game of day 2 here of our Super Week. A lot of games from both of these squads having to be played out. I believe Liyab, they have I think it's a 3 or 4 game weekend.
4 games still.
4 games. I think AHQ similar. I think they have their games here today as well as tomorrow. So a lot of action, and you got to fight the fatigue when you get into these Super Weeks.
Yeah, I mean, teams have been playing it out 2 days a weekend. Now it's 3, especially added pressure of having to win as much as they can to catch up with points. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, AHQ wanting to get a bigger chance of getting that bye slot on towards that seeding.
So we'll be keeping tabs here for HQ this early game. You're going to be likely expecting, Civ, Kongya, and Uniboy having to be that top side of the map to try and make plays happen around some of these objectives. And you got to be able to contest up to against Doidoi, who this time around, up on his Graves. It's been a while since we've been able to actually watch him. Usually he falls back onto stuff like the Trundle or even the Lee Sin.
Yeah, for Liyab, this is actually one of those things where I'm happy to see, because having to put Doidoi on a high damage output champion such as the Graves and putting Rex on the usual utility, the mid and jungle duo really does match well, so they can move around the map together. And if you add in Mocha as well into the equation, it's going to be a scary checklist, if you will. They got damage, they got heavy CC, they got shields.
Does mean, though, Dawn will maybe, in most cases, have to fall back in the lane, and you can already see that starting to stack down toward the bot side of the map. Of course, looking like Liyab not really wanting to step forward into the minion wave, having to respect the Ashe, and with that being said, too, a nice hawk shot is able to spot out Doidoi on his pathing, so they have an idea of where this Graves currently is.
Yeah, speaking of Ashe, aside from how much, vision at least to track where Doidoi is going to be, it is going to be an absolutely scary level 6 as well when it comes to that lane, as you add in Kongye into the equation with his dive potential and as well as that crystal arrow. Liyab should definitely be careful, especially when we look back where Rex is usually the target of certain dives in the lane.
Wow, Mocha getting rather aggressive here onto Wako, but has to flash himself back to safety. That's the issue when you're going up against the Kench, is if you commit too hard, you'll be able to get eaten up and devoured away, as Kongyu actually pathing down toward this bot lane himself might be looking for a dive.
And we were talking about dives for Kongye. Doesn't necessarily have to wait for level 6, but the chances of success will definitely be better once you get that heavy CC, as Tahm Kench will definitely have a hard time since Dawn will have that arcane shift as an additional mobile distance gapper.
You see
Dodoi
here,
though.
Dodoi, if you want to try and do it in the early levels, this is the time to do it. The wave's going to crash in. Kanji can go ahead and always pick up the kill threat, as well as a teleport coming out in. There's your stun, looking for the kill. Civ, though, gets himself back to safety. Rex, though, able to teleport on in. That's going to be first blood going on over to Liyab.
And the thing was, Uniboy teleported, hoping to at least maybe get a Q scatter the weak, but at the end of the day, he didn't have any sort of mana to survive of any sort of long-drawn tower dive. I was a little bit worried because Liyab, when we look at their tower dives yesterday, it looked a little bit iffy, but now this seemed a lot more cleaner. Rex more confident to flash in to secure the kill and not back away.
And Civ had a lot of confidence that he was going to be able to live through that dive, of course, holding on to his flash, wanting to get that slice and dice to at least get the extra distance, but that final auto attack coming through from Rex is able to net them the first blood. And you see Kanji, even though he's going up against the most veteran player in the PCS at the moment, not afraid to go toe-to-toe on the carries.
And that's what's great. We can see Kanji's improvement throughout the split, having to see how much he can go in terms of aggressive plays. And it doesn't matter who he's up against. And we saw that last night, when he did that teleport play to get 2 kills against Taipei J team.
So, not too bad here, as that's going to be at 1,000 gold lead for Liyab. And Dodoi already making an impact on the map. Rex as well. Even though the kill does go on over to the Karma, you might want to put that on over to the Camille or the Graves. But nonetheless, it's still an opening here that I think Liyab are going to be happy to take, considering the fact that it's AHQ that are the ones that have something to prove here. They were the ones that got taken down by Liyab in the first go-around in the round robin, and they're the ones looking for revenge.
And so far, it's looking pretty solid. Rex.
Unfortunately, here comes Kanya alongside Uniboy, and this is still a very dangerous combo once paired together. No level 6 just yet, though, for Uniboy or Kanya. If that is online, though, Rex has to be careful. You already see Dodoi at least trying to pay some attention and try and get some pressure back here in mid.
Yeah, Flash was definitely used earlier, therefore a window of opening for AHQ to take advantage of. And we did mention earlier, yes, that Dragon is now being started by AHQ.
Yeah, with that, Prio in mid was secured by AHQ off that play, and Rex is forced to go back with no teleport either, as it was used for the top lane dive. That does mean first Drake on over to AHQ.
Yeah, I think it is still a very effective gank in the mid lane against Liyab. But then again, for Liyab, this is totally fine. They can wait to scale it up. They don't have to be pressured to do anything too much just yet, especially if their focus is topside control for Kanji to get this Camille going.
We do have to see, though, last time Liyab had something like a Camille, we saw them try and force some fights that necessarily weren't needed from them. They could have just let Kanji scale up into a side lane and then try and split push away. And this is the thing about Liyab's kind of composition. We have mentioned that the team coordination can be a little bit wacky. The shot calling can be all over the place in some circumstances. And if they want to be a contender, sure, you got to be able to prove that you can do this composition, but it's still a risk here when you're not even in consideration for playoffs yet.
Yeah, when we look at Liyab, there are times where they look really solid. One of those times were against AHQ, especially when they go towards the late game. Gone are the days where Liyab has to snowball to earn that victory. They can go through scaling. They have proved it so far in PCS Summer. And as long as they don't lose too much in the first 15 minutes of the game, their chances of winning are definitely even more against AHQ.
Well, the next little wave of aggression that they may have to watch out for Liyab if they want to try and survive for this first 15 minutes is, of course, once you get that level 11 onto the Syndra and her getting her first item.
Yeah, that is definitely the scary part because we saw that first gank already. Uniboy Kongya made moves in the mid lane against Rex. Rex, if you don't have priority in the mid lane, that means you cannot make moves around with Dodoi. Dodoi, therefore, has to go on his own. And the fact that Mocha has been doing Dawn babysit duty all this time since Wako has been creating pressure at the bottom side of the map as is Ashe. Therefore, Liyab, unfortunately, has to give up several places off of the map in the first few minutes of the game.
Well, and that's the thing here with Doi Doi is even though he's up on levels as well as CS, unfortunately he hasn't been able to get much pressure anywhere onto the map, and it has been just these roams coming out of Yusera as well as Uniboy alongside Kongyu to get that objective control.
Exactly. I mean, Liyab has been trying to make up for the loss of early pressure in exchange of having to at least gank Kanji earlier on. Unfortunately, though, Dodoi has to clear his jungle first as Kanji is being shoved into his own lane so far as Ziv is able to recover from that first gank in the game.
Meanwhile, too, we take a look toward first item pickups. You're going to be looking at Ludens here for Uniboy. And if you're on this top lane, you're looking for this juicy Camille. Kanji going to try and do what he can. Ends up getting stunned underneath the tower. And fortunately, with no support coming out from Doi Doi, it's going to be an easy tower dive and the first kill for AHQ.
That is quite unfortunate. We did mention that even without Kongye's presence at topside, Ziv is able to still equalize the lane despite that first death in a few minutes ago. But because of this puts Ziv even on a greater position in the lane. No exchange off of the map, unfortunately. I thought there was going to be a dive setup in the bottom side of the map, but it's so hard if there's a Tahm Kench as the support for Wako.
You see, though, Dodoi maybe looking for a play here. Wako is level 7, so does have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and you got yourself, again, some levels in onto the Graves, but unfortunately, rather difficult to try and jump in onto a Kench as well as the Ashe post level 6, as that is just going to be Liyab backing away. And with that first brick gold, went on over to AHQ as well as funneling in the turret plating onto the Renekton as well as his Volibear.
And this is going all according to plan. We've seen how much a Renekton can create impact in team fights, in certain skirmishes, and able to punish Liyab if they decide to be a little bit more aggressive, especially at the top side of the map. We've seen how Liyab can be a little bit patient, though, if Kanji doesn't get ahead. So he just hugs the tower, doesn't be aggressive, and not lose too much, as we've seen before.
And for now, too, if you're on the side of Liyab, you kind of have to look back and look how long is this game for them to scale. Because now you have Dawn only now just picking up his tier. He also has that call he's trying to farm up as well with a Sheen. Still going to be a little bit before he gets that Trinity Force. And same with Kanji. He's still about an item away before that's going to be actually completed. And right on time here is for AHQ as you have Ziv unlocked from his side lane. He doesn't need to use teleport to come down for this dragon, and Liyab are going to be outnumbered no matter what.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen how scaling teams is okay. They don't have to be pressured too much in getting that second Drake of the game and usually fight it out. Never mind, Dodo is super aggressive.
Very aggressive Doi Doi, because the thing about AHQ is the more dragons they are able to secure away from Liyab, the better it goes, and the more pressure is on to Liyab to actually try and contest for some of these objectives and not just give up all this map control.
Speaking of giving up map control, we see John.
Wow. Doi Doi
dear.
Caught out, way over toward the side. That's going to be 2 ultimates used, and that's enough to take down the Graves as Uniboy finds his first kill of the game. And no real support coming out from Liyab. Might as well said, all right, just call off the play, let that one go. But unfortunate error coming out here from Liyab.
I was going to say, we saw the duo of Liyab's bottom lane already making their way towards the bottom side of the map to clear the wave. And it seemed like the rest of the members were also...
Here we go. Some decent damage here as True Shot Barrage, and that's a quick and easy kill. Picked up here by Liyab. Maybe want to try and give that one on over to the Ezreal, but nonetheless, a decent response here as that gets Dawn at least some gold into his back pocket.
Wako was comfortable, but we'll go back to that later. Okay, see? Dawn wasn't around anymore. The rest of Liyab were also quite far away, so it felt like the call was to not pursue the dragon anymore. But at that point, unfortunately, Dodoi was still lurking around, hoping to see whether or not he can maybe make something happen. But I guess the takeaway from this, not having to use the Solar Flare, not having to use any of the other cooldowns, surprised Wako. He was very comfortable to the point he did not use Flash, he did not use Heal.
The fact there that he actually stayed around when he had the Hawk Shot, actually spotting out Mocha right beside, the brush, maybe should have just backed off. So a bit of a rare instance we have seen Wako actually make a misplay with the information that he has available to him.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit too greedy when it comes to farming and probably a little bit too comfortable. And not having to react as, again, most of the summoner spells coming from Wako is still intact. But Liyab, I guess, will take that as a consolation prize. At least they're able to even it out what their jungler in exchange for the AD carry of AHQ.
They're able to equal out, again, the kills here on the side of Liyab. And gold still dead even, but objective-wise, now 2 dragons in favor of AHQ. Those 7 turret plates being picked up themselves, and have to wonder where all this gold is coming out from Liyab, as the fact that they're also down turrets. I'm kind of trying to figure out somewhere on the map where they have this. I guess it's on the call that was picked up from Dawn, but other than that, it's been them at least trying to keep gold even so far.
Yeah, definitely from the call of Dawn, and as well as Dodoy's constant farming in the jungle as the Graves. This one, though, very, very important. The Rift Herald, so they can open up the map a little bit more.
This is a scary place to fight, though, because look who just got his first item. It's Uniboy on the Syndra, has level 2 in the ultimate, has gone with the GLP, so you're not seeing the Luden's burst up front, but you're still seeing that little bit of utility to try and catch out a member so you can still land a full combo. And that threat alone is enough to force Liyab to back off. But meanwhile, mid lane, they want to try and bring in the fight. Able to get the stun onto Ysera, but able to do a nice job keeping his AD carry safe. A Scour of the Week into now the true shot. Not even available here as the Crystal Arrow ends up flashing away through Mocha. Now calling you on the hunt as well. But a little bit of a messy skirmish. Neither team, though, going to lose out on any members.
Yeah, a lot of respect, especially just as you mentioned, a lot of the first items are already completed in AHQ's favor. You got the Black Cleaver, you got the GLP, just as you mentioned, and the Bork as well. The Liyab, in the meantime, still hoping to still scale. And at least for Kanji, Triforce already completed. So if, you know, Dawn is able to pick up his own Triforce, that's going to be an amazing spike, even having to, you know, scale or rather get towards that mana stack. That will be absolutely a great way for Liyab, or a great opportunity for Liyab to be a little bit more brave entering the fights.
You're starting to see, though, the perk of having Civ kind of unlocked from that top lane. He's already started to go for invades into the jungle of Dodoy and starting to siphon away some of the gold there, away from Liyab. And those are, again, small little instances that, after giving up all that top-side pressure, it's going to be still, again, about 10 minutes before Kanji kind of comes online into his second and start working toward his third item. And feels like timer's starting to tick here for Liyab. We're now only 45 seconds away from our next dragon, and if AHQ are able to secure that, then you are looking at an Ocean Drake Soul at around the 21-minute mark.
And pressure is going to be building, just as you mentioned, as Liyab will not have enough space to keep contesting these dragons. And for Dawn, still waiting for his gauntlet. At least it can help you kite a little bit with so much dive that it'll be in up your face, as you have Ziv on this Renekton and as well as a Volibear for Kongye. But in the meantime, the Liyab does have at least some sort of control over that area, but they have to respect the fact that maybe they want Wako instead.
So Dodoy, he was trying to do a little bit of dance around there, but due to the fact they were able to pick up that second Rift Herald earlier, that now gives Prio over to AHQ in mid lane, and Liyab had to make the decision. All right, are we going to lose out on a first-tier tower, possibly a second-tier tower, if we don't take this dragon fast enough? And Kongya, he's willing to make that call, trying to jump on in,
dear.
and he steals it away from Dodoy, the worst possible way this could have gone for Liyab. Let's see, can they get a returning kill on the fight? The answer is no, and Shelly in the mid lane able to take down the tower. Rex can't get away from the unleashed power, goes into the stopwatch, over the wall Mocha goes, it's saved Private Rex, but it's not going to be enough, as Dodoy can't even finish off the kill on Kongye.
Cannot finish off the kill because Liyab was so busy in the jungle. This Herald had value, knocking down the inner and outer towers in the mid lane, and unfortunately, Liyab is unable to exchange anything off of that one.
And there you go, there's that swing. That's that kind of backbreaker fight that Liyab always has in their game, where they have to make a super risky call. They have to make that 50-50 play, but rarely does it ever go in their favor.
And the thing with what happened was, once you have dished out the solar flare, there's nothing much you can do if it doesn't add up right. And the fact that they're not able to chunk key targets yet, just because there's 3 annoying meat shields in front of you, that's going to be a future problem, even though, let's just say, Liyab has already garnered their power spikes.
So not what you're looking for here if you're a Liyab fan. And now 3.5 minutes, going to be Ocean Soul available for AHQ. And Liyab's going to be forced into another scenario where they say, okay, can we want to take this fight? Do we feel confident enough with our current builds? And they are still decently close when it comes to the gold. It's only a 2,000 gold lead. But still, again, you're looking at pretty expensive items to still come online here for both Kanji and Dawn. Dawn still waiting for likely going to be... it looks like he'll likely go into the Bork or possibly the Death Stance, depending on how he's feeling today.
Again, it's a little bit worrisome because as an Ezreal, eventually later on, after that, there's a little bit more safety, yes, but you will be heavily relying on more damage output from Dodoy and as well as Kanji here on the Camille. And Dawn definitely going to be on poke duty as well as Rex. But because the laning phase was incredibly fast, we weren't able to see Dodoy shine as much. A little bit worried for Rex here, though.
Yeah, Rex has kind of opted to going into the side lane. This is kind of his go-to approach, as he did see the Syndra for half a second. In comes that combo, and there goes your kill button, as Uniboy able to pick up another kill here now on the Syndra.
It's a very familiar scene, I suppose. We've seen this a couple of times back in spring, and it's just quite unfortunate because with one man down, HQ will take advantage of that 20-second timer. They wanna...
Oh, no. John, you should have just walked to your tower, bud, as unfortunately there is a volley bear over toward the side. Kanji, though, ends up using, of course, a hook shot, gets him a little bit closer into the fight. Ysera able to save out onto his jungle, gonna go ahead, flash away, teleport gonna come out from the side of Uniboys. In comes the re-engage. Kongi is gonna get taken on down, shutdown going on over to Doidoy, but meanwhile in this back line, it's Civ ripping them apart. Doidoy gets taken down, Uniboy on a killing spree. Rex trying to find himself to safety, but he's only the Karma. He'll be able to at least stall out what he could, but in the end, Liyab, they get wiped here through the jungle, losing 3 members.
And we were talking about damage output, and if you can't finish off a target immediately, you're going to have a bit of a problem because HQ is able to respond with so many members having to collapse and punish. Yes, they managed to get at least a shutdown on towards Kongye, but at the end of the day, HQ still keep piling on towards the kills. And towards key members such as Uniboy, who is still haven't been challenged at all, has a Void Staff at the moment in his inventory, and it's going to get scarier as the game progresses.
And it all comes down to that just overconfidence coming out from Liyab and the fact that, well, that's the one perk about Kench. This is his one job, is to delay fights as long as possible, and it gives them enough time for Uniboy to get back to base, get the teleport off, and maybe not stopping here as we did go back in from the replays. Mocha almost gets taken down in mid.
And we go back to what we talked about when it comes to Liyab here, having to be overexcited. Okay.
Oh, Kanji. Woo! There comes the damage. Rex able to get the shield out. As Uniboy, with that Void Staff, really starts to hurt. Especially Kanji, that doesn't have really any MR outside of his passive that he's going to get the shielding from on the first little bit of damage coming out from Uniboy. As, again, we've seen this before. Teleport actually going to come out here from Kanji. It looks like Liyab really want to try and fight because guess what's up? It's that Ocean Drake. It's been 22 minutes. Time is up here for Liyab. You have to make a call because the extended fights will never go in your favor. Doidoy gets stunned out toward the side. Mocha on top of Wako over toward the side. Still not going to be enough. Soul in favor of AHQ. Mocha gets taken on down. Ysera is 1v3ing 3 members over toward the side. Kanji is able to take down Wako, but you can see AHQ. They're not hesitating. They jump on in. They're slicing and dicing. They're bringing the storm with the volley bear over the wall as Dawn now is going to be preoccupied by Kongye, and there's nowhere to run other than back to the base. Doidoi going to try and do his best, but just like that, AHQ, they will take everything away from Liyab and dash their hopes once again, looking for the revenge as Kongye underneath the tower make it the ace for AHQ.
And you look at that, HQ not only gets that Dragon Soul, but also gets the ace against Liyab, and unfortunately, it's looking like the Liyab that we see on the opposite side of the coin, where they're unable to do anything despite having so many attempts in punishing AHQ for being aggressive with their lead.
Now you just see Liyab, they're separated. You needed Kanji to get into that fight a little bit earlier on. No one was able to get onto the Dragon, and unfortunately, AHQ, Ocean Soul in hand, it's not looking all that fresh now for Liyab. I bet they are down close to about 8,000 gold.
And the thing is Sarah did his job right. He distracted 3 members of Liyab. Kanji tried to distract 4 members of AHQ. But unfortunately, even though Mocha is able to reach the back line, no follow-up from Liyab from that CC. And unfortunately, this is what happened after. An ace and AHQ in a very comfortable lead.
There you go. It's going to be a 7,000 gold lead for the side of AHQ. Soul in hand. Elder Dragon going to be up in 4 minutes. Baron also on the table. And unfortunately, you're looking at the items over on Liyab. You're still looking at about 2 items for Dawn. Kanji is still working toward his second item. But guess what? HQ, they're online. You have 2 items onto the Ash. You have this Crystal Arrow being used non-stop. You have Civ willing to just walk up close into melee range of Dawn, forcing him have to back off. And like that, HQ turn eyes up toward the top side of the map.
No flash for Rex. No additional safety for Rex on the next incoming fight if Liyab decides to contest that Baron. HQ already has a soul. Stuff will not connect, but Liyab has at least their jungle still to sort of farm it up, as the lane have been dangerous because of that Crystal Arrow. Therefore, I believe vision will be extremely important, as AHQ will be playing around this Baron in the next few minutes.
And if you're Liyab, you're hoping for some miracles. You're hoping for some major objective steals coming out of Doidoi to make it possible. Doidoi, that's a very dangerous place to be in. Scatter of the Week is going to connect, looking for the stun onto the Graves. They will find it, as Kongye is still having to back off. Has to show a little bit of respect. Wako himself in the middle of the lane, but you do have that Kench always sitting nearby. And it feels like for Liyab, they're kind of running out of options. They're looking to try and turtle on down, but we have seen multiple times that this does not work for them. Kanji wanted to go for the hook shot. Scatter Weak, though, is able to step toward the side. In comes the Unleashed Power, and there you go. Uniboy, unstoppable. The flank from Civ down into the lane, and Liyab are on the wrong side of the map. In comes the Stormbringer from Kongye on the Volley Bear, forcing the flashes out, but that Kench is on the hunt. Another arrow lands in onto the members of Liyab. It's a dominating Syndra, and it's going to be another kill back on over. 3-0 in favor of HQ.
Can I say, Uniboy's timing of the Scatter of the Weak, so the hook shot does not fully enter the rest of it. Doidoi.
Oh boy. Doidoi, he flashes himself to safety, but has really nowhere to run. Kongye, he's hunting down this Graves, forcing him out of the base. And with that, HQ looking to sink their teeth into a sweet pie of revenge as Liyab's base starting to fall.
And this is, the gold lead is just immense right now. And HQ, again, we mentioned comfortable lead. They can continue to just remove the inhibitors, get that reset, go towards the Baron for a more clean finish. And the fact that HQ has been getting a lot already so far, with Liyab not getting exchanges at all, you can see a lot of that bounty building towards the 3 members from HQ. No cash in, no exchange, therefore it's very hard to fight the next time they meet.
You do see at least vision being put down by HQ is going to be just cleared out at the very least by Liyab. Still 1 minute until we have our Elder Drake online. So for Liyab, maybe a miracle steal, but you already see that bot lane being pushed in. Civ also has teleport if Liyab want to try and go for this. We have seen multiple times what happens when this team tries to go for a fight when they are losing a side lane.
Oh, no.
And guess what? The call is made by the side of AHQ. They say, we're happy to go on in. We have a massive lane starting to push in on that bot side, and AHQ forcing Liyab to have to make the call. Give up Baron or give up your base.
Absolutely difficult. Again, 3 meat shields. You've got Volibear, you've got Ysera, and Ziv at this point is just very, very ahead. The point is just so hard to take down. Now, Liyab is going to contest this for sure.
They need a
Very
hero
tough.
play, but no, it's not even going to happen.
Ooh.
His hero hopes are dashed immediately as Doidoi gets taken down by Wako. Kanji with a late TP. And you know what's going to happen at this point. Ysera's just been funneling up the Baron as long as possible. Kanji wants to try and make a play on back, but he is squishy. He is batted to the side by a godlike Uniboy, and Baron now secured by AHQ.
Props to Ysera for sticking around the Baron pit so the Baron does not reset after the rest of HQ just collapsed on Liyab, and now they're collapsing towards the base of the Philippine representatives.
And there you go, teleport going to come out from Ziv, and a rather quick one to start things off here in day 2 as AHQ are able to strike back in the second round robin, get the revenge for the massive upset at the hands of Liyab as they take them down 18-5.
Revenge is definitely sweet, as we see HQ at the moment. Just another day at work, it seems, against Liyab. And unfortunately, we didn't really see the King Slayer version of Liyab this time around.
Yeah, revenge is sweet. It also looked kind of easy there from AHQ. As, unfortunately, Liyab, they try and do these, again, really complicated compositions that require a lot of team coordination, a lot of good synergy, and kind of a proactive mid-game, but we just don't see that ever, especially with the fact when you draft a composition where you also have, you know, Dawn going in an Iceborne Gauntlet build. He doesn't do a whole lot of damage on that Ezreal. Doidoi as well. Sure, he got ahead in levels, but we never saw any objective control come out of Liyab.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, I thought we saw the Karma, Graves being locked in. They were going to be a little bit more active in the mid lane, having to shut down Uniboy's growth, aside from being active at top side as well, but we didn't really see that, and the lane is too late. Normally, you get a pick in the mid lane, then you move towards the objectives, but we didn't see that happen at all.
And there you are. Take a look back here. This was, of course, the Ocean Soul that was secured by AHQ, and at that point, with the fact that a Kench is preoccupying three of your carries, by the way, of Liyab is usually a bad sign.
Yeah, Ysera did so much in this game, and mission accomplished, definitely, as Kanji has been also trying his best to distract the backline, but it's definitely too late as Liyab already invested so much resources on the tanks of HQ.
And even from there, this team did not give Liyab a single opportunity to breathe, it seemed here, as your MVP of the match is going to go on over to Kongya on the Volibear 4-1-11, looking rather solid for the team.
Yeah, Kongya, a very solid Volibear, especially the Volibears in the PCS. Has a curse, but Kongya made it work definitely as having to be very impactful in every single lane and is able to secure all of these objectives.
And with that, AHQ, they're able to now surge up to 12 wins, currently in that tie against Taipei J Team. If they want to try and at least go for the bye, they're still in that top 2, and making sure they don't drop a game here to Liyab is absolutely crucial if they want to remain in that talk for a playoff bye. Meanwhile, for Liyab, it gets really concerning here now. Unfortunately, the team needs to find an upset in these couple of last games they have at the end of the season, as well as victories against teams that they are expected to win against. We are going to talk about that more later, but let's go for an interview with Kongya alongside Patty.
So Liyab actually gave you guys a lot of pressure in the early game, and it is only after the tower dive on top and after the second Drake that the game started to get into your momentum. So who made all the team fight calls, and who is the main caller on the team?
通常我都会就是先抠要打什么物件，然后队友再看情况给回馈，就是给一些团战该怎么打。然后通常主要发起都是我或是辅助来就是发起进攻。
So most of the time, I would tell my teammates that I want to get some objects in the jungle, and my teammates will tell me if it's okay to do so. So most of the time, it's either me or our support doing all the calls, and we tell other teammates if we're going to go for a team fight.
好的，那接着想要问就是，你们的 BP 是都全听绿茶的吗？还是你们会说你们自己想要玩什么角色？那通常最后谁会妥协？
So during the BP, is it that your coach Green Tea will decide all the champion picks for you guys, or do you guys tell your coach that which champions you guys want to play, and who make the last decision?
通常绿茶都是会比较听我们的，因为就是他还是会有他自己的想法，但如果选手玩的不开心，也不会玩得好，就是通常都会比较听选手的。
Okay, most of the time our coach Green Tea will listen to our opinion on which champions we want to play. So because even if our coach Green Tea decide on the champion, if we don't want to play the champion, then we won't perform well in the game. So most of the time he will listen to us.
对，那之前 LMS 有这个龙之子的称号嘛？不过你现在堪称是 PCS 的龙之子，有没有跟观众稍微分享一下你的偷龙小技巧？
So you've been, in the recent games, you've been really good with stealing dragons and stealing objects in the jungle with a lower level and using your smite really well. And people are starting to call you the dragon stealer in the PCS. So can you share with us some tips on how to steal dragons or steal objects in the jungle?
我自己是觉得偷龙的比较没有压力，就是如果只有高一两等去拼中的话，就是5-5开，然后偷龙的可能会成功率比较高，因为比较没有压力。假如下得去龙区的话。
I feel like stealing drakes or stealing dragons, I don't have a lot of pressure doing this because even if the other side's jungler is only 1 or 2 level above me, it is a 5 versus 5, like half chance. So I feel like I don't have a lot of pressure. Just go in and try your best.
好的，当然也恭喜你们拿下这场比赛的胜利，当然也感谢翻译，也谢谢空月接受我们的访问。这空月刚刚也有提到，这个偷龙50-50，只要下得。
Well, you heard there. Doesn't really matter, you know, 50-50 when it comes to the Baron steals or the Dragon steals. Nonetheless, works out for Kanye as well as the rest of AHQ as they look in prime position at the moment, currently at the top of the standings, tied up there with Taipei JT.
Yeah, HQ, I think it's going to be a great feeling after that victory, and as well as setting the stage as, again, it's almost towards the end of our round robin.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, though, it's going to be our second game of the day, Hong Kong Attitude taking on Nova Esports.